my. Rob, we chatted about AI related activity of which you are now a, if not regional, provincial, national expert. Look at you. I'm putting you right up there, babe. When we chatted 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, there were a series of events that you were going to participate in. Love to hear how that went. Love to hear the kind of questions that people were asking. And what's happened since then? I mean, I get, I'm on TikTok and various other social media platforms, and I follow the algorithm has pushed me towards my interests. Of one is AI updates. Quite a bit has happened in the last month, especially around utilizing agents. Some of the platforms are now embracing Word and Excel into their AI results. Fabulous. Tell me what's happening in the world of AI, Rob.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I've got a couple of conferences coming up in Vancouver next week I'm looking forward to. And yeah, been doing a bunch of been doing some training and just some general meetups and events. And the most notable thing we were discussing after the last meetup was how adoption and understanding has finally made some big jumps. At first, in a room full of sort of 40 or 50 business people, there'd be kind of maybe three people that were dialed
Using
in.
it.
And I'm not talking about 2 years ago, I'm talking about like 6 months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And now most everybody has at least some understanding of it, which is great to see and definitely what we need for the region and just to stay competitive. Because yeah,
How are you
as you
finding, how are they using it? Was there any kind of generalization? Okay, for example, I use it a lot, a ton. I use it for content generation. I do a ton of digital marketing and I do a ton of video production. I use a lot of it for that. And when I'm stuck, my go-to used to be YouTube, the encyclopedia of the web. Now it's ChatGTP and it's far more comprehensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of where most people are at, using it to edit documents or even to create them. And there are wonderful opportunities there for particularly for folks that learn how to properly train their AI and give it examples of their own work. And I know in my case, yeah, certainly it has sort of 4 to 5x'd my productivity for writing, and that yeah, I now still have to think sort of original themes and thoughts, but then can kind of feed in an outline and have something popped out that's near ready. And same goes a big area too. Not so much in the broader adoption, but with some of the folks I'm working for, is just things like large reports and audits. Because if you have a methodology and can input all that methodology and then sort of basically just gather the inputs for it, finding, reports that might have taken 20 hours, like literally months ago, might have taken 20 hours or more, kind of an hour to 2 hours can get you a good part of the way there. And what is encouraging though is that with that sort of thing, you still need to know your area of expertise because it's still like there are still mistakes in there. It's just like yeah, junior person. But yeah, what I've really been struck by in the last few months is just how truly powerful it can be if you give it enough context and information.
I think that's
Yeah.
really been the swing in interpretation of what originally sounds like originally would be years ago. No, literally 6 months ago, as you indicated, there was a sense that AI would just obliterate, staff and it would be just doing all this stuff on its own, and you could go from 50 to 2, and that's all wrong. I mean, what's happened now, and I'm sensing, I know it, I've seen it, I have anecdotes, is that the brain power is sort of switched more towards framing, towards obviously you just said inputs into expectations. and then having the engine create the final product. Doesn't eliminate all that bit at the front end. You don't just dream something up and AI creates it. You have to frame it a little bit like a chef. Okay, let's think about that. Maybe we can analogize here to make it a little easier for folks. You can actually provide a menu to somebody and you can give a lot of ideas around what you should do when you're making that meal, and you don't have to make it. But without that first part, you don't have a meal. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And for those that aren't using AI yet, that's kind of what it's like. We still need us involved.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like the recipe analogy too. And that because that is the thing. If you have a rules-based process, no matter how complex, if you're able to if you're able to document what those rules are, you can get some ridiculously high quality output very efficiently. But again, you have to know the rules up front and also have to be knowledgeable enough to know when there's been an exception or something that happens that makes it go all wrong. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. A development that I've heard a lot around, where AI is developing is less on the pieces that I'm doing, and more in what they call agent interaction and creating agents. Can you explain to us, common folk, what does that mean, and how actually does that, and can we utilize agent development, AI agent development in our common business practices?
So absolutely, and I mean I think there's a lot of people incorrectly defining agents as well. A lot of people mistaking workflows for agents,
Ah,
which is sort of a pedantic thing to bring up. But the big thing with agents is there is a certain level of autonomy with the agents. So you might have an agent has the ability to choose from different options to decide how to solve a problem. Whereas a workflow is a set sort of one, two, three. So you're basically enabling some level of autonomy in at
ah,
least one area within the process. So that in a sense they're very similar to workflows, but you're giving them decision-making capability outside of a strict set of rules.
okay.
Um,
So they're
and
actually using some sort of coding intelligence to come to their decision making.
yeah,
Yeah.
so to speak. And I guess an example might be like we have a bunch of different measurement tools that we use. And so rather than
Within your
say,
digital marketing
yeah, exactly. So
products. Okay.
rather than a specific workflow telling telling the tool that it would go out through the Google API and run sort of a keyword sort of research thing, you might give it sort of Ahrefs and Moz and the Google, you'd make all these tools available. And then for the individual use case, the agent would have the autonomy to decide which tool made the most sense
Wow.
for their
Wow.
situation.
And are agents little snippets of code that you buy and then compile? Or does like ChatGTP provide you agents, standardized agents that you can then modify?
Well, a bit of both. I mean, ChatGPT did come up with an agent solution. I mean, it mostly you would engage with a developer. You'd have and where to help create one because there typically is some code. Like for instance, we did a proof of concept one last year, actually before deciding that a simple workflow would work much better or be more efficient than the agent.
Wow.
We had one where we had software hosted in a virtual environment and had the agent able to sort of reach out and use this desktop software through a virtual environment. And it was just kind of like with most companies. I think I read a stat that 95% of implementations are actually failing, which
Wow.
sounds crazy and that may be overstated. But really, everybody's talking about agents in the industry. So companies that have never done anything, they're like, oh, we need an agent. Whereas there's really sort of a ladder of skills that
Mm.
companies should go through to gain a full understanding of things. Not to even mention that most companies don't fully have their workflow documented, which
Right.
means an agent will fail in
Yeah.
that case. But really, I mean, the starting point is getting really good with prompting and prompt engineering and understanding context engineering, where you're providing more information to the very simple tools, and then kind of a step up from that. There are third-party tools that hook on to the frontier LLMs. So most of the tools that you see that are advertised in your social media feed, they're just somebody putting a UI wrapper over top of sort of ChatGPT or Claude with sort of a set of instructions around it. But you can actually, for the most part, create those sort of things yourself through custom GPTs or Claude
Mm.
projects or Gemini gems. And then kind
Wow.
of the next evolution from that would be workflows, where you start to tie some of these operations together and build in more sort of access to your documentation within the organization, have a process run on it, so for something like an ongoing process, a client onboarding process, you can make a fantastic automation using something like make.com or N8N. And then an agent is kind of the next evolution beyond that. So I think companies that kind of go straight to agents without going through that evolution
Are part of
are
that
are really,
95%, I bet.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just it makes sense. It's kind of like, oh, it would be like, I mean, in DIY and woodworking, I can cut some deck boards and build a deck, but if I walked into a shop with fine equipment for like making fine furniture, that's kind of where folks are at with the
Yes. And listen, this ultimately is a business podcast. Uh, that's what your company does, right? ROI marketing, plus ROI marketing. Uh, now, you were experts in digital marketing, website development. You are now AI implementation experts, I take it, right? I mean, you might source that out, but if I was sitting going, I want to implement AI for my business, I'm ready, I'm mentally ready, I would phone you and you would take care of that.
Yeah, happy and more along the lines of marketing and communications implementation. We've kind of
Okay.
expanded the services, kind of staying in our lane a little bit there. Like we're
Yes.
not enterprise IT experts or sort of MS365 experts, but in terms of the marketing operations that folks want to automate, where we are now helping clients implement in a very practical
Yeah.
manner. Because again,
Yeah.
like with the agent example, most folks are overbuilding, and at the pace that things are changing, you just don't want to invest too much in
Mm.
in the infrastructure until you know what the technology is going to be. And so speaking of automations, which are so powerful, but speaking of those, Google just rolled out a tool last week that apparently will allow you to kind of replace all the automation tools. I haven't even tried it yet. My strong suspicion is that it's not quite there yet, but if that's something they focus on for 6 months, then yeah, it could
And
be as simple as plug and play within that environment.
it's crazy. My brain's blowing up.
Yeah.
I heard Claude several weeks ago. Um, um, Offered services that allowed you to provide inputs. Then they could create Excel spreadsheets and Word documents, which I don't as yet see it in ChatGTP. But wow, what a place to go, as opposed to, spending weeks creating pivot tables and everything in Excel. And this thing does it for you. Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I mean, Gemini is now working within the Google workspace and yeah, that's I think that's what we can expect. I don't think Claude's fully out of the woods on having that a hassle-free sort of operation. I know just yesterday I was trying to asking it to export a Word document and it told me that, well, hey, I can give you copy and paste ready things. So I think that might, and again, I don't want to speak with confidence because it does change daily, but as my
Yes.
experience yesterday was that you had to copy and paste it, but it
Oh,
was perfectly formatted for Word when you did so and had like
ah,
tables and formatting and
crazy.
headlines and subheads and all that stuff.
Um, Tell me, please, what events are upcoming? I hope that I can continue to interview you and receive updates. This stuff is moving so quickly. I know that you're speaking to the Sydney Breakfast Club, a peninsula-based industry networking group, on December 10th. That will be so fun. I'll put the details in and around these boxes that we're talking in. How about from now till Christmas? What do you have online, Rob?
Lots on the go. Next Monday, there's the AI Summit in Vancouver. Fortunate enough to be speaking at that, followed by the Association of BC Marine Industry Conference in Vancouver, speaking at that on business productivity as well. And then on Thursday, we've got a an AI meetup, diving into some really technical and kind of research areas. That's next Thursday
And that's through
at, at
Viatech?
at Viatech,
Yep.
yeah. And then, gosh, we've got AI meetups happening at Viatech every 2 weeks. The second Thursday and fourth Thursday. The second's a business track meetup. The fourth Thursday is a technology track meetup. The business ones being just a little bit more accessible, the technology ones getting into some coding stuff. And the most exciting thing coming up is the Prompt Victoria AI conference is coming to Victoria on November 21st. And I've been having a lot of fun being on the organizing group for that. And that's coming together really nicely. That's going to be a good event with a lot of great speakers. So and
That is
then
fantastic. I
yeah.
don't know if you remember the old social media camp from years ago. I think Paul Holmes and I forget the other gentleman's name. They were involved with that. That was really that gained a ton of traction around that time around using social media, etc. Really, you're now building upon that spirit, but this time it's around AI. It sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking that it's in the same venue.
Oh, is
And
it?
it's going to be
Great.
yeah, the
Victoria
big
Conference Center.
yeah, the big
Yeah.
stage down at the conference center and
Yeah.
yeah, definitely some parallels there.
Well, folks are seeing that I'm putting all this information on the screen and links. Rob, this is amazing. We're very, very lucky to have an expert like yourself locally. And if it's all the same to you and you have time and breadth within your busy schedule, I'd like to keep interviewing you and keep getting updates.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks very much. This is a lot of fun and thank you for everything you do, John. This is great.
Rob, you bet. Take care, my friend.
Okay. Bye.